We have some problems about the metric system to work on here. And what I've got listed at the top of this page, which is a really good reference to have handy, is the major prefixes for metric system units. So kilo means 1,000, and a kilogram would be 1,000 grams. A kilometer or a kilometer would be 1,000 meters. That's one that you should definitely memorize, kilo. There are others. Mega is for 1,000,000, hecto is for 100, deca is for 10. And then there's these, which are for fractions. So these are the big ones. These are the smaller ones. Deci is a tenth. Centi, that's an important one to remember. That's 1/100th. A centimeter is 1/100th of a meter. Milli is also an important one. That's 1/1000th. So a millimeter is 1/1000th of a meter. So a centimeter is about, oh, I don't know, that big. And a millimeter is a tenth of that, so it's about that big. Micrometer is a millionth of a meter. Not going to try to draw that. And then the main units we'll be using for distance would be meters. And you'd pick the right prefix to put in front of these meters. And then grams for weight. So let's take a look at some of these and we'll practice using them and converting between them. This first question says, the length of a line segment is 93 millimeters. How long is the segment in centimeters? So what we want to do here is convert with a conversion factor or a unit multiplier. We start with the number they gave us. This is 93 millimeters. And then I always write it as a fraction because these are problems where you multiply fractions. And what I want to do is multiply it by a conversion factor, a unit multiplier, whatever you want to call it. It's also going to be a fraction that converts this to centimeters. We want something that says centimeters and millimeters. Well, how do centimeters and millimeters interact? Well, a centimeter is 1/100th of a meter, a millimeter is 1/1000th of a millimeter. When they're right next to each other, that means they're off by a factor of 10. And in this case, there are 10 millimeters, they're the smaller ones, that make up a centimeter. So you could say 1 centimeter has 10 millimeters, or you could say 10 millimeters for every 1 centimeter. Either one of those would be conversion factors or unit multipliers for this problem. What I want to do is pick the one that has millimeters on the bottom. Millimeters is on the top to start, and I want those millimeters to cancel out so that I'm left with the unit that I'm being asked for, which is centimeters. So I'm going to choose this one. 1 centimeter has 10 millimeters. Now, units cancel out here, the millimeters cancel out. I'm left with just centimeters as a unit, and I do my multiplication. Across the top, it's 93 times 1. Well, that's 93. And across the bottom, it's 1 times 10. Well, that's 10. And this is centimeters. Getting a little crowded in here. So my answer is going to be 93 divided by 10. You could do that on your calculator if you want. It comes out to 9.3 centimeters. Another way to think about this, we started with 93 millimeters and we ended up with 9.3 centimeters, is that every time you go up by a factor of 10, you move the decimal place over to the left by 1. So if we wanted to know how many decimeters this is, I'd move the decimal point over another one. If we want to know, go one more step up, what's missing here in the middle is the plain old unit. Let me pull this down a little bit. The plain old unit, so meters, for example, would be in here. If I want to know how many meters are in here, I would put another decimal point. In this case, I'd have to move it over one more, so I'd have to put a 0 in there, and it would be 0.093 meters. So let's do another one. This one says compare 970 millimeters and 9.7 centimeters as greater than, less than, or equal. When you have different units, what you want to do is convert one to the other, and then you'll be able to compare them to see which one's bigger, smaller, or if they're the same. Well, I'm just going to take my millimeters, 970 millimeters, since it's the same thing we did in the last problem, and convert that to centimeters. My conversion factor is 1 centimeter for every 10 millimeters. I know it's this one because the millimeters are on the bottom and they'll cancel out. So I get 970 times 1 across the top and 1 times 10 across the bottom. This is centimeters. And then I can divide that by 10. 970 divided by 10 is 97. So this is 97 centimeters. So is 97 centimeters greater than, less than, or equal to 9.7 centimeters? Well, that's clearly greater than. So that would be our answer there. Couple more. This one says, how many meters are there in 700 millimeters? Now we're converting between meters and millimeters, so we're not, they're not just right next door to each other. This is a few units away. You need to know that there are 1,000 millimeters in 1 meter, because a millimeter is 1,000th of a meter. So let's just write the conversion factors, the possible conversion factors down first. So 1 meter per 1,000 millimeters, or 1,000 millimeters per meter. Now let's set up our problem. We start with 700 millimeters. I'm going to write that as a fraction. We want to end up in meters because they're asking how many meters. So when I multiply this, what I want to do is make sure in my conversion factor millimeters are on the bottom because they're on the top here. So I would pick this one. That would be 1 meter and 1,000 millimeters on the bottom. Units would cancel out, and now I do my multiplication. 700 times 1 is just 700, and 1 times 1,000 is just 1,000, and that's, now we're in meters. That's the unit that was left there. 700 divided by 1,000, you can try that out on your calculator. It's 0.7 meters, and that would be our answer. Okay, last one. This one says compare 11 kilograms and 11,000 grams. Greater than, less than, or equal. Well, a kilogram is 1,000 grams, so you might be able just to figure this out in your head. If you replace that K with 1,000, it would say 11,000 grams, and that says 11,000 grams, so they should be equal. But if you wanted to try to convert one of these units to the other, let's just do that really quickly. Our conversion factor between kilograms and grams is that there are 1,000 grams per kilogram, or in every kilogram there are 1,000 grams. Now let's convert the kilograms. We start with 11 kilograms, write it as a fraction, and I'm going to multiply it by the conversion factor that has the kilograms on the bottom, which would be this one. So that would be 1,000 grams on the top, 1 kilogram on the bottom. When I do my multiplication, I get 11 times 1,000. Well, let's cancel out the units here. I get 11 times 1,000. That's 11,000. And on the bottom, I just get 1 times 1, and this is now in grams. So you can see 11 kilograms does indeed equal 11,000 grams. So these two are equal. So those are some problems about the metric system and converting between units in the metric system.